Hello, my name is Anne, and today I'm going to be presenting the topic that I chose for my chemistry project, which is Livor Mortis. We'll start out simple with the definition of Livor Mortis. As defined by Merriam-Webster, Livor Mortis is hypostasis of the blood following death that causes a purplish-red discoloration of the skin. And then, just as a little extra elaboration, I decided to include the definition of hypostasis, which is the settling of blood in the dependent parts of an organ or the body. Now that we have the definitions out of the way, we can move on to whether or not it is a chemical or a physical change. Is livor mortis a chemical change? No, it isn't. No chemical changes occur in the body to directly cause this phenomenon. Obviously, with decomposition after death, there are other chemical changes, but none that cause livor mortis directly. So that makes it a physical change. It is only a physical change, and it causes mostly cosmetic changes, which can affect the embalmer. And what causes livor mortis? It is caused by the lack of blood flow to parts of the body. After death, the heart stops pumping, which means that the blood can't be dispersed throughout the body anymore, and that causes the blood to settle into the dependent parts of the body due to gravity and the blood just not moving anymore. And something that I've noticed is you can replicate a phenomenon similar to livor mortis when you cross your legs. So if you are like I am and you cross your legs a lot when you're sitting, sometimes when you cross your legs for too long, your leg will begin to form a little red spot. And that's because there's a lack of blood flow to that certain part of the body. And I found that just like a good little real world connection that you can observe yourself. And the time frame of livor mortis, after death, the circulation stops as the heart stops. 1 to 3 hours post-mortem, the discoloration begins to appear to the naked eye, and you're able to see little tiny spots starting to appear. They're not super dark or super big. And then 4 to 6 hours post-mortem, the discoloration increases and darkens, and they increase in size and begin to spread to the dependent parts of the body. And then 6 to 8 hours post-mortem, the discoloration stops spreading and it's fully dark as it'll get. And then 8 to 12 hours, you're no longer able to change the positioning of the lividity, which will be covered in a deeper sense later. And then the components of livor mortis, lividity is going to be that cherry red coloring that you can kind of see on that first example. And that's just where the blood is settled, and it's just making that super red, kind of like when you hold your finger for too long and clamp off the blood and it starts to turn red. And then blanching. I thought the picture I included was a pretty good example because you can see the outline of the hand where it had been resting against. And blanching is going to be that white part, and it's usually where the body was in contact with a hard surface. So this person, I can't tell what part of the body that is, but they likely were laying on their hand for an extended period of time post-mortem, which caused the blood to pool around the hand and create that indent. And just to add a little more, there's an appearance description. It starts off as small spots that eventually spread, generally has a reddish blue hue to it, kind of like when you bruise your knee and it's like that 1 to 2 days after type look. And it'll be located on the lowest and most dependent parts of the body. The parts of the body directly in contact with the surface will show blanching rather than lividity. Like I said earlier, if a decedent is laying on their back, the parts that are directly in contact with the table or whatever they're laying on will have that white color to them. And then from 1 to 8 hours from time of death, moving the body's position can cause the lividity to shift. So if you have a decedent laying on their back and then you move them to their left side, the lividity over time can move from being located on their back to the left arm, the left side of the face, the left side of the body, and the left side of the leg. Oop, sorry about that. And I just included some extra photos of livor mortis. On the left here, we likely have somebody that was on what's called an egg crate mattress topper. And you can see where the mattress topper was in direct contact at certain peaks of it, causing that lividity. and causing the blanching. And then on the right is a more common sign of livor mortis that you'll likely see in the funeral home more often than you will see that checkerboard pattern. And then finally, we have other factors that can affect livor mortis. One of the big ones is going to be the amount of blood in the body at the time of death. So someone that had a traumatic accident, say for example a car wreck, and they lost a lot of blood, they're not going to have a lot of blood available to pool into those dependent areas. And the same thing with somebody that's anemic. They're not going to have a super high amount of blood in their body, and that's going to cause less chance of lividity forming. And then the coagulability status is very important as well because that will change how dark and how many blood clots form in the areas of lividity. And this can be changed by if they're on blood thinners. Blood thinners can cause blood to not coagulate as easily as it does normally. And then the cause of death can change the coloration of the body, of the livor mortis that forms. For example, carbon monoxide poisoning will cause a very bright cherry red color. Cyanide poisoning causes a pinkish color to form, and then nitrate poisoning causes like a brown color. So you're kind of able to assess what the cause of death is from those factors. And then here's my works cited page. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope it was informative. Thank you.